is a testament to you folks knowing that you want to give back to our community and back to the school that you attended as well. And we say thank you for that. So as part of our thank you, we have a gift for you in the bag, and I'm going to share with you. I'm going to ruin the surprise for you, but the gift was made by our students, created and designed by our Altoona Area High School students in Mr. Frank Harpster's technology club. Now it used to be known as the Robotics Club. In there, you'll find a square wooden box. Inside the box are 6 coasters. Each of these coasters represent one of our logo designs, the Athletic A, the paw print, and our stylized mountain lion. You can store your coasters within the box itself, or you can put them in the slots at the underneath the box and display them proudly on your desk, countertop, or table at home. So if you get the opportunity, it's Mr. Frank Harpster, it's his class. And if you want to send a thank you, I'm sure the kids would appreciate. I gave them the offer to come in and explain their work. And they all seemed to be busy this evening, so did not come. The second presentation we have this evening is we want to recognize one of our athletes. I'm going to ask Anya Koonsman to come up. Anya is a senior volleyball player. John Sabo, Coach Sabo, is the coach of the volleyball team. Phil Riccio, as you know, is our athletic director. And Mr. Hatch and Mr. Mignon, if you want to join us for the presentation, that would be great. Anya was recently, she's here today with her mom, Tanya, recently named as an all-state volleyball player. And I'll let Mr. or Coach Sabo give you a little more information.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very pleased to present to you Anya. Anya was named a 4A all-state volleyball player. Anya has been the personification of what it means to be a student athlete in our program. She's been a member for 3 years as part of the AVCA all academic team that we have had. She has been a 4-year letter winner, a 4-year starter. She was an honorable mention mid-Penn last year. She was a first team mid-Penn this year. She is a 2-time District 6 All-Star athlete, and she is a 2-time Mirror All-Star athlete as well. And all of this, of course, is culminating with her being named an All-State athlete. So congratulations to Anya. Great accomplishment. It's awesome. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. What do you want? Let's do it right there.
Okay, at this time, we'll take the opportunity to hear from any citizens who may want to get up and speak. If so, please state your name. Kelly?
Kelly Bowers. I have an expectation of our school district and those that work in it. My youngest graduated this past year. I have worked with some of the most amazing people in our district, and I have experienced some. I'm not sure why the district employs them, because they present themselves to be a liability. I know that the board doesn't care much for parent or community involvement, no matter how much they present it like they do. But here's the thing, you may want to brush up on everything PDE. Some parents and community members are tired of the district saying, deal with it because this is how it is. I am going to start giving parents and community members the step-by-step breakdown so that even I could understand it on my worst day. Then how to file complaints with PDE and how the process works from start to finish. I will do walkthroughs of how to file criminal complaints so they can do, sorry. I will do walkthroughs of how to file private criminal complaints so they can do it themselves if the district does not start protecting students from other students. Parents have reached out because their students don't have SEAs, even though it's in their IEPs. Parents have reached out because their students have been on the receiving end of physical altercations in our schools. And the parents have reached out because their students have been told they don't need services in schools. That one, it upsets me because if you don't know what FERPA is, educate yourself, because I'm tired of people in our district treating our students badly because their parents want better for them. And I'm gonna start educating them what FERPA is. So board members, if you don't know what it is, find out. And sir, you have a thing ahead of you because I'm going to say it 1,000 times. The positions in special ed, they need to be looked at because situations aren't being dealt with properly. And if I'm the only one standing up or saying about it, I don't care. But special ed needs seriously looked at, and that's what needs overhauled, not the administration. But to finish this, you get the idea. The funny thing is I wouldn't have to be up here addressing anything if it wasn't an issue already. We have a superintendent now that is homegrown. He knows the issues in our district because it's his district. Let's see how this goes, Brad.
Okay, anyone else wishing to speak? All right. Let's move on to approval of the minutes. We have the minutes from the regular board meeting of December 4th, the board minutes from the reorganization meeting of the same day, and approval of the committee of the whole meeting on December 11th. Do I have a second? Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Anybody opposed? No. All right. Next, we'll move on to finance. Under finance, we have a list of payments, financial reports, contracted service agreement with Anne-Marie Longwell, contracted service agreement clarification with Mr. Cutroff, and we have a agreement with OIGCN sanction screening and validation services agreement. Are we all right taking those all together? Would anybody like to separate anything out of there? No. Okay. So I'll ask for a motion to approve all of those. A through F or A through E. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All in favor? I'm sorry, any discussion before we move on? I will just add one thing. In E, the OIGCN sanction screening agreement. When I looked at that, I started reading it and I was like, wow, this is a serious agreement. And then when I got to the page where the fee was discussed, I was blown away at how inexpensive it was. So it's quite a service for the price. Brad, maybe you want to explain to everybody what that is real quick?
Sure. That agreement, we normally would contract with Westmoreland County Intermediate Unit to look at our medical access and any investigation into a fraud. So any of our medical access, we do billing for billable services for our students. This provides fraud protection for any of those claims that we would be filing for reimbursement.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries. We'll move on to education. Under A, we have Altoona Curve Charities Grant Application, graduate credit reimbursement. C, extended school year for summer 2024. D, expulsion request waiver of hearing and agreement. E, Devereaux PA Children's Behavioral Health Services. F, elementary field trips. G, secondary field trips. And H, volunteer approval. Would anybody like to split any of those out? Or are we fine voting on A through H? Okay. Looking for a motion to approve A through H.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
The extended school year, Brad, that's just talking about special ed in relation to extend.
That's correct. Yeah. Students that are eligible for extended school year that have IEPs, those are handled individually, and that's written into their IEP, whether, they're eligible for that and that's approval for the program.
Okay, when do we talk about the extended school year for those students that need it, I guess?
When their IEP is, so their annual.
No, I mean for all students, like the summer school program.
Oh, summer school, the junior high summer school program, I think we put them on hold. Those will be approved at the upcoming board meeting. We plan on offering both remedial and enrichment summer school program for all secondary students.
Okay, because I'm in favor of doing it in person this year. I know that we did it through online or however, whatever you call it, but I'd really like to take a look at that because
Sure.
I think if they're struggling students, that it's going to be more beneficial to be in the classroom.
So our junior high program is always, except for during COVID, was in person. We ran into some staffing issues to be able to provide adequate opportunity for students at the high school level, which is why we went to exclusively an online model in previous years. But if we are able to have, there are some of the enrichment courses are in person, but to be able to provide the opportunity for students, we can definitely explore and start to look at from a staffing standpoint, if we can get enough staff to be able to provide in person. I agree that in person is always better. There's a minimum hour requirement. Our students must attend 60 hours in order to be able to issue a credit for a remedial course or for a course that's taken for credit. But we
Okay,
can definitely explore that.
okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Anyone else? All right, so we're looking for a motion to approve items A through H under education. Do I have a motion? Oh, we had the motion. I'm sorry. We're looking for a vote. All in favor? Please
Aye.
signify. All opposed? All right, motion carries. Next, under 7, personnel, we have personnel agenda items, and we have league event worker pay sheet. Looking for a motion to approve those items. Looking for a second.
Second.
Any discussion?
Of course. So previously we talked about combining the ticket seller with the crowd control. And I have also discussed our excessive use of people for crowd control, what I think is excessive use, especially in the 6th and 7th grade, which are on the weekend. So it's not really like people are coming down after school and we have a lot of students. So most of the people that are at these games are the families. So I don't think there's a huge need to have 2 people on crowd control per game. on the weekends, especially at these rates, because I know that I think that these rates are high, especially if we have like 4 games going on a day, then they're making pretty good money for that day.
So we I know we had had the conversation numerous times. We are doubling up responsibilities for ticket seller and ticket taker. They are acting after they've done the in-between game ticket selling, ticket taking. They are the crowd control. When we have gyms or when we have 2 gyms going on at one time, we do have a need to have more than one person between the 2 gyms. So they are doubled up in terms of responsibilities, and I will verify, but to my knowledge, we have not had any game where we've had just 2 dedicated crowd control people, any weekend game.
And so if they're doubling up, are they getting $12 per game or
No.
15?
It's part of their responsibility they're getting the ticket seller, ticket taker rate.
Okay, and also just a question on that. I know that it's for checks and balances that we have the ticket seller and the
Mhm.
ticket taker. So how does that process work? Like, do they just check and balance with each other, or is there somebody else that's overseeing it?
The league coordinator would oversee all operations of that particular league. But internally with the ticket seller and taker, it's for audited purposes. One person sells the ticket, one person takes the ticket, and there is an accountability in terms of the number of tickets sold and the number of revenue generated.
Okay.
Any further discussion? All in favor of items A and B under 7 personnel, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. We'll move on to 8. In section 8, we have A, transfer to capital reserve, transfer tax; B, mansion park change orders; C, Pleasant Valley use of kitchen for spaghetti fundraising event; D, repository bids; E, capital reserve list of payments; F, capital projects list of payments for approval; G, transfer of funds; H, junior high school turf replacement. Do we want to vote on all of those, or do we want to carve any out to discuss individually?
You want to pull out the turf replacement?
Could pull out the turf replacement. Anything else? Okay, so we'll vote on A through G, and we'll reserve H for discussion. Do I have a motion to approve items A through G?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? I think it's worth having a brief discussion on G, transfer of funds,
Sure.
as we discussed in executive session, just so the public's aware.
The transfer of funds is an allocation that we are dedicating the number of $3 million from the general fund to the capital reserve fund. That money would then be dedicated for capital projects in the foreseeable future. We've been fortunate to experience a revenue over expenditure for the year ending 22-23, and we are proposing to dedicate and allocate that money to the capital reserve. By doing so, it's still part of the general fund. However, it is dedicated for the sole purpose of capital needs and capital projects as they become necessary in the coming years.
Thanks, Brad. Do I have a motion to approve items A through G under number 8, business operations? We already had, I'm sorry, I apologize. All in favor of approving items A through G under section 8, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay. So we move on to H, which is the junior high school turf replacement. As you can see, there were 3 bids. And the motion is asking us to approve the bid of Sprint Turf at a total cost of $566,140. Do I have a motion to accept that bid?
Motion.
Do I have a second to accept that bid? Would we like to discuss the bid?
I do.
Okay.
Okay, so I wasn't able to make the past two facilities meetings, so I guess I kind of want to know, are we required to take the lowest bid?
We are not required to take the lowest bid. We vetted all three providers of bids, did a comprehensive research into their qualifications, into the current projects and previous projects that they've done both regionally and within the state of Pennsylvania. We checked references on all three, and the question came up about the significant difference in variance in Sprint Turf's bid to that of others. Once again, we have met numerous times, and we are very comfortable with the product that they are providing, as well as the installation and specs. We've gone back to them numerous times with requests, other than not agreeing to no change orders. They have met all of our requirements and all of our requests in terms of timeline, in terms of who we wanted to be the installer, who's going to be overseeing the installation. And again, we've talked to people that we know, both Mr. Riccio, Ms. Franks, and myself, who've had Sprint Turf installations, and both in the short term and ones that are like 5-6 years old, just to check on durability and to see how those projects have completed. And we've had nothing but positive affirmation from those people that we've checked with. So we are more than comfortable with the recommendation of Sprint Turf.
Are any of these vendors did any of these vendors previously put in any of our turf?
Shaw, Phil, correct? Not the installation. Yeah, Shaw is a product that their turf product
Okay.
we have utilized before, but they were not with the installation. And Astro was the IM field, the current IM field.
Okay, and why do we feel like we need the alternate bid versus the base bid, just out of curiosity?
So depending on the condition of the E-layer at this point, which based on preliminary evaluation by all of them, felt that the E-layer would need replaced. There were multiple alternatives to that, whether you just wanted to fill it in with an aggregate or utilize a pad on top of an aggregate, or completely do a new E-layer. Based on the waving and some of the things they've noticed in the current field, the recommendation and the current trend is to do an aggregate fill with a pad, and that enhances the safety when looking at compression into the field, and the safety in terms of kids hitting heads and whatnot on the field. Sprint Turf had the highest weight, in addition to having the lowest bid. So their actual fiber, in addition to the total weight of the turf and the carpet and the product, and that includes the fill and everything that you put in with it, exceeded that of the other bids as well.
Okay, so was it the consensus of pretty much all of them that was a better route to take?
The consensus, what they're doing now almost exclusively is they're utilizing an aggregate fill with a pad.
Okay,
And that pad would last the duration of the turf as well, which we're hoping will be between 10 and 14 years.
and but we don't have that anywhere else.
We do not have a pad. We do have a pad installed at the IM field.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so the only other problem that I have with this is hiring a construction administrator for $12,000. I don't know if there's something we can do in-house for that.
There is. I mean, what we were hoping for was to have someone, an allowance to be able to have somebody internal, whether it be internal within the district or someone that we contracted to hire, that would oversee the project directly. And we're looking at anywhere between 10 to 15 days, but to have somebody on site at all times, to allocate or dedicate personnel to do that, because we're looking at this being done before the end of the school year.
Okay.
So it would be like an April, May installation. It would be difficult to allocate somebody for the length of time to pull them from their other jobs and duties and responsibilities, to be able to have the institutional knowledge to know what needs to be done and what should be done in terms of the turf installation at that time. We're confident that we could get this type of service for less than $12,000. But again, we want to make sure that that the installation goes seamlessly and flawlessly.
Okay.
And to be able to attract somebody to do that. We had some people, you had mentioned some names earlier. Those are some of the names that have been floated around as potentials for
I guess I'm
that
just
role.
thinking like we've put in a couple turf fields by now. We
Mhm.
have Phil, we have Doug, we have Trevor. Like, can't they oversee this?
Not full time. I mean,
Okay.
in terms, I mean, they could oversee the project, but, and they will. I mean, Phil and, I mean, they will be an integral part of that. But to have somebody on site full time, 10-hour days to be able to, you know, to be able to do this during the installation period, we felt that it was more prudent to have somebody that was fully dedicated to doing that.
Okay.
Who has that? Who has that background? I mean, that's kind of a specialty.
So we've had a handful of people that we've utilized in the past that have done that. You know, Steve did the most recent one at Mansion Park. Steve, help me out. Steve Parks. I believe he's retired from that now, but there have been some other names, including some names that we had discussed earlier, that have directly overseen projects of that nature that we might reach out to serve in that capacity or serve in that role.
Anyone
You know,
else?
it's so important with the cost of the project that we have somebody that's there full time, that no corners are cut or anything. You know, we want this done right, and I think someone for a small amount that we're going to pay them, it's worth it to what could happen if they're not there. You know, I hate to say it, some people like to cut corners and not put down the exact filler or whatever. So it's good to have somebody on site.
Anyone else? I did a little went several pages deep into a search on Sprint Turf, and I didn't see anything alarming, nothing negative at all. So not that means much, but anybody else? All right, so all in favor of accepting this proposal to allow Sprint Turf to do a roll call vote? Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. Camilla?
Mr. Mignon,
Yes.
Mr. Francis, Mrs. Irwin Adams,
No.
Mrs. McGinnis, Mr. Cook, Mr. McCauley,
Yes.
Mr. Pacifico, Mr. Pappas,
Yes.
passes 7-1.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to new business. We have A and B. A is statement of charges. Ashley Williams. B is grievance settlement agreement. I need a motion to authorize the issuance of a statement of charges against Miss Ashley Williams, a non-professional employee, extending an opportunity for hearing under Section 514 of the Public School Code of 1949 as amended, and further authorize the board president and board secretary to sign same and serve notice upon the employee of such an entitlement to a hearing. Doing so, the board believes there is sufficient evidence to support the belief that a statement of charges should be issued to afford notice to the employee and an opportunity for a hearing. Looking for a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
And to be clear, I guess this is just for A, Ashley Williams. Any discussion? None? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Let's move on to number 9, new business B, grievance settlement agreement. Do I have a motion to accept that settlement agreement? Do I have a second? Any discussion on this? None? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Under 10, for information only, Facilities Committee meeting summary of November 28th. Under 11, committee reports. Do we have any committee chair reports? Do we have a board president's report? No. Do we have a student representative's report from Ms. Klein?
Yes, so I do have a couple of administrative information. Schools and offices will be closed on January 15th for Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. There will be no school for students on January 26th for in-service. And all secondary schools will end its second marking period on January 16th and begin the new semester on January 17th, while elementary schools will end their second marking period on January 17th and 18th. Additionally, the AAJHS Concert Band and Wind Ensemble will perform on January 23rd at 7 p.m. On January 10th, experts from the Blair County Drug and Alcohol Program will explain the dangers of vaping. This session will begin at 6 p.m. and will take place at the Altoona Area High School. On Monday, January 29th, AAHS will be holding a free FAFSA workshop for all students planning on attending college or a career school next year. All parents are invited to register and attend. Additionally, another reminder for students and parents who plan on having their child attend college or a career school, scholarship opportunities are coming into AAHS weekly outside the guidance office. Thank you.
Thanks. Superintendent's report.
Just want to reiterate, Julie had mentioned it. We do have our third in a series of town halls this Wednesday at 6 p.m. in the Drama Commons. And the focus of this presentation discussion is about the dangers of vaping. We have a very proactive and interactive presentation by representatives from Blair Drug and Alcohol, in addition to a panel of administrators and other folks. Vaping is a very big problem. Not just in our schools, but with our young people and in society. It's becoming more and more dangerous. And I would encourage all of our parents, especially parents of young people, because what we're finding is that this habit becomes a habit at a young age and worsens as students are getting older. And we are seeing it in our schools. We're seeing it in our communities, and it really is something that we need to be well educated on and that we need to have serious discussions about. So, Julia, thank you for bringing that up. We'd love to see some students there as well. I know that our kids are aware that we're making very proactive measures here at the high school to try to curtail the incidences of vaping and students bringing vapes to school. So it's something that we definitely are very passionate about, and we want to make sure that we're keeping our students and our schools safe. Thank you.
Thanks, Brad. Do we have an employee union's response? Middle management? Solicitor?
Real quick, just following up on the vapes. Had a situation not too long ago. I'm going to share some information with Brad and administration on the Delta 8 cartridges. I mean, the FDA has put out a ton of information. I don't know what you have or you don't have. It's a good source document to educate, but you have to be over 21 to even possess them, to even have them within school. And the students have to realize that they're subject to serious disciplinary action for even possessing them. And then I know that Adam is part of that PASPA group, the personnel, group. And I saw an attorney firm down in Philadelphia was offering Title IX training for a mere pittance of $4,750 for member schools. When Mike Levin and I, our firms joined to do the Title IX training previously, our costs were at least 70% less than that. And just for Adam and other people who are thinking about it, we're going to roll that out again in the district. We'll save probably about $3,000 without biting on that other training opportunity. And that'll be coming out shortly in the near future. Thank you.
Thanks, Carl. I will accept a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Second.
So, second. All in favor?